Hey everybody, it's Chris Shang again, and today I'm going to go through creative ways of figuring out the different channels for you to reach your target audience. So I figured what better example than to use my own personal business, my growth consulting business, to show you what I mean by this. And in the future, what I'll do is I'll provide case studies of existing clients as well as other people who are inquiring if I can do the same exercise for them. But I just want to go ahead and show you this because it's a little bit more practical. So number one, you're going to have to ask yourself, does this group need my service? And then two, are they going to be able to afford me? And so when I'm looking at these two questions, I need to figure out and categorize the people that I'm going to try to target as part of my target audience. So I do that by a few things. In my case, it's going to be a type and then the industry that they're in. I'm looking at these two questions as kind of like a qualification process for myself. And so the types that I'm looking at could be things like startups, it could be corporate companies, it could be small, medium businesses. These are the different types of, I think, companies that are in a space that they're going to need somebody to help them grow or scale. And then, I might see a certain trend. So within specific industries, maybe there isn't a huge amount of, tech learning curves there. And so they're going to have a better need for somebody like myself. And so I've broken it down to different types of industries where traditionally they do pretty well, and they have budgets to allocate towards this kind of stuff, but they may not be thinking about it at the forefront of their mind. So things like medical services, legal, financial, that kind of stuff. Those are the different types of groups, even like real estate agents, that have done really well for themselves, but don't really know how to leverage social media or paid advertising. These are the different groups that I feel would be beneficial to my services. That being said, now I can backwards engineer to figure out, all right, which channels am I going to be able to actually go through to reach these types of potential customers or clients. And so that ends up being a lot of different job posting sites, but also a lot of different types of startup sites that maybe a lot of people are not aware of, or going to be some cold reach outs that I'm going to throw in there too. And what I do is start putting them into cohorts or different batches. So ideally, I would have 10 startups and then maybe 10 companies that are larger Fortune 500 companies, maybe 10 companies that are strictly plastic surgeons, or 10 companies that are strictly dealing with corporate law, and 10 companies that are just strictly financial advisors, right? And then I'm going to find, the whole point is to find points of contact within each of those 10 groups, and then start going out and doing a similar reach out to every single one of them. In my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a video of myself and share it with them of taking their business and giving them an idea or a lure for what my service can actually do for them to help them scale their business. And in doing so, I'm going to figure out which group that I just mentioned is actually going to be most responsive. And I'm going to say, I target the startup world, and maybe 5 out of the 10 respond back. All right, great. So that's 50%. Say out of the corporate group, 3 out of the 10 respond back. That's 30%. Maybe out of the different plastic surgeons, 7 out of 10 respond back. Great. So the whole point is to figure out which ones are going to give me the best responses, and then further down from that is when I start engaging with them, which ones are actually going to put their money where their mouth is again and actually convert and pay for my services. And once I start doing that, I'll have another cohort group that I'll break them down into to figure out what percentage of the people who are actually interested will actually become paying customers. And once I understand those dynamics, right, I can start playing around with the different types of content, the different types of messaging, but I know which groups are going to be more responsive to my product or to my consulting services specifically. And that's going to help me figure out where I'm going to allocate my resources, my time, my bandwidth. If I hire virtual assistants to help me aggregate these contacts, I will have now a place for me to start, and I'll be able to start doing that at scale, right? And so that's pretty much what I wanted to do to kind of give you an idea, just leveraging my business, in general, of how you can look at different channels in a much more creative way, and how you actually backwards engineer to figure out, the different types of sources that you're going to be able to use for lead generation. That's pretty much it for today. Again, I'll jump into another case study that maybe outlines this a little bit better for a much more general or a more unique type business or service. But I wanted to go ahead and show you, what I do and what I'm going to actually be implementing so you can understand that as well. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time.